but ICE threatens to deport him to Uganda. A news story written by Maria Sacchetti and Jeremy Roebuck, and read by an AI-generated voice. Kilmar Abrego García, the Maryland man illegally deported to his native El Salvador, has been released while awaiting trial on human smuggling charges, his attorney said Friday, a blow to the Trump administration, which had promised that he would never go free in the United States again. Federal officials obeyed a pair of court orders to release Abrego from jail in Tennessee, where he is accused of smuggling migrants based on a 2022 traffic stop in that state, and allow him to return to Maryland with orders to wear a GPS tracking device. He has pleaded not guilty in the criminal case. However, soon after his release, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement notified Abrego that he could be deported to Uganda as soon as next week, according to two people with direct knowledge of the information. He was also ordered to check in Monday at a local ICE office. A federal judge in Maryland previously ordered immigration officers to give Abrego 72 hours notice of his potential removal to a third country, a time frame that excludes weekends. His lawyers are expected to challenge the possible removal. Uganda said Thursday that it had struck a temporary deal to accept immigrants deported from the United States, who cannot be sent to their home countries for humanitarian or logistical reasons. Uganda's foreign ministry said it would not accept deportees with criminal records or who are minors traveling without their parents. The U.S. government has been increasingly trying to deport immigrants to alternate countries, such as Eswatini and South Sudan. White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson repeated the Trump administration's claims that Abrego is a gang member and said his release was an insult to his victims. The Justice Department did not respond to a request for comment. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi L. Noem lashed out at activist liberal judges in a statement on social media and called Abrego a monster. "We will not stop fighting till this Salvadoran man faces justice and is out of our country," she wrote. The release is the latest development in an odyssey that began more than 5 months ago when U.S. immigration officers, under pressure to accelerate deportations, sent him and nearly 300 other immigrants to a notorious prison for gang members in El Salvador. Multiple judges found that Abrego's removal violated a 2019 court order forbidding his deportation to that country because gangs there had threatened to harm him. The Trump administration has been in a lengthy tug-of-war with the federal courts ever since. Government lawyers described Abrego's deportation as an isolated error, but resisted rulings ordering his return. Even after the Supreme Court directed officials to facilitate his return, Attorney General Pamela Bondi said he was not coming back to our country. DHS spokeswoman Tricia McLaughlin said in June that Abrego will never go free on American soil. But U.S. Magistrate Judge Barbara D. Holmes found that the government had failed to prove that he was a flight risk or a danger to the community. She noted that the smuggling charges are the first criminal allegations ever filed against Abrego, an undocumented immigrant who has lived in Maryland for more than a decade with his wife and 3 children, all U.S. citizens. Holmes imposed several conditions on Abrego's release, including that he attend anger management classes and live at an address provided to the court. At a June hearing, the judge also told him to avoid contact with members of the MS-13 gang, if you know any. Abrego's lawyers and family have denied that he is a gang member. Today, Kilmar Abrego García is free, Sean Hecker, his criminal defense lawyer, said in a statement. He is presently en route to his family in Maryland after being unlawfully arrested and deported and then imprisoned, all because of the government's vindictive attack on a man who had the courage to fight back against the administration's continuing assault on the rule of law. Democratic lawmakers and supporters cheered his release Friday. Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat Maryland, who traveled to El Salvador in April to meet with Abrego, said in a statement that the nation's legal system had worked its will and upheld the right to due process. But he cautioned that he expected the administration to continue to undermine Abrego's rights. "We will continue fighting to see them maintained, because due process in this case does not end with his release," he wrote. Officials returned Abrego, 30, to the U.S. in June after securing an indictment against him in Tennessee over migrant smuggling. His attorneys have called the case a vindictive prosecution and asked a judge to dismiss the charges. Though Holmes initially ordered Abrego's release in June, Abrego's attorneys asked for a stay on his release after immigration officers repeatedly stated they would immediately detain him and try to deport him to another country such as Mexico or South Sudan, a nation on the brink of war. The order delaying his release expired Friday. U.S. District Judge Paula Sinis in Maryland has forbidden the agency from immediately detaining him, She also said officers must give him at least 3 days' notice that they intend to deport him to a country other than his native El Salvador. Sinas was the first federal judge to order the U.S. government to facilitate Abrego's return to the United States. A criminal trial on the migrant smuggling charges had been scheduled for January. If ICE follows through on its threats to deport Abrego, those charges could be dropped. Because he is married to a U.S. citizen, Abrego could be a candidate for legal residency, though having that approved is likely to be a challenge under the Trump administration. The government has repeatedly noted that his wife twice filed for court protection from him in Maryland, accusing him of abuse, though in both cases she did not pursue the request past the initial filings. His wife, Jennifer Vasquez-Sura, said in an interview that Abrego was traumatized when immigration officers detained him for months in 2019, after a Prince George's County police detective alleged Abrego was in the gang. The detective was later fired for misconduct in an unrelated case. No charges were filed against Abrego at the time. Vasquez said the couple addressed their differences through counseling. In March, immigration officials detained Abrego again in Maryland after he picked up their youngest son, who is autistic and nonverbal, after work. Abrego was also helping Vasquez raise her 2 other children and working as a sheet metal apprentice. His wife has described the trauma of the family's separation on TikTok, posting videos of their children's birthday parties without their father and their last family outing, to a trampoline park. She celebrated the release last month of Venezuelans transported to the Salvadoran prison, along with Abrego in March. But she said that her daughter asked for her father to come home for her birthday party last month, and that it broke her heart to tell her he could not. She posted photos of the girl in a party dress and a toy emotional support bear named Kilmar. Abrego's family sued in Maryland to bring him back to the U.S., and his attorneys argue the Trump administration has put him in danger by making him the face of its mass deportation campaign. The lawyers said in a court filing that he and the other migrants sent to El Salvador's terrorism confinement center were severely beaten and forced to kneel for 9 straight hours upon their arrival.